Hey guys, I have a brand new Q&A video for you. I love getting to these because this is just one of the many ways that I get to talk to the Patreon community, because every single question in this video comes from a member of the Patreon team who is on a particular tier of the campaign or above. We've got 4 questions to get to today, and they are some good ones, as they always are. Beginning with Evan, who wants to know, what are your biggest lessons learned from running and training for the New York City Marathon? I think probably the most cliche one I can give you right off the top, which is still very, very true, is that I can do anything I set my mind to. It really did for a long time in my life seem like an impossible feat, but I feel like that movie, Brittany Runs a Marathon, flipped a switch, and the second that happened, there was just this determination that had me plow through all the training and through the actual race. Of course, I had some doubts along the way, but there was just something inside of me that was not going to let me skip a major part of my training. It's like if I woke up and didn't feel like doing a run, it wasn't even an option. I just sucked it up and I did it. And that got me through to the end. And probably the other takeaway I would say is just keeping in mind that if you put in the work, you'll be okay. Because even though I did the work and I did the training, admittedly, I had a lot of doubts. I mean, going from, let's say, doing a big run, like an 8 to 10 mile run, and then making that leap to a full marathon, 26.2, it just seemed like a huge, huge gap there. And I don't know, every single step of the way, I always had in the back of my mind, like, I'm okay right now doing this amount, but what's going to happen when it gets to this? Because also, when you train for a marathon, or at least the program that I used, you never get to the point where you actually do a practice full marathon. They bring you to 20 miles, and then you're kind of left to wonder what those last 6.2 are going to feel like. So there was definitely some uncertainty, but all you're really able to do is do the work and know that when the day comes, you are as prepared as you can be. And that brings me to my last point with the marathon. Some things are just out of your hands. Things happen. You know what happened to me? A month before the race, I stubbed my toe in my apartment because I was rushing to get out to go to a screening, and I broke it. And I was devastated when that happened, and I was terrified too, because after all that, was I not going to be able to run? No, it turns out I went to the doctor. If something like that happens to you and your toe isn't out of alignment, there's nothing you could do about it anyway. It's gonna hurt, but apparently it was okay to run on it, and it certainly was that way for me. I made it past that, and you know, there was a lot of worry and concern leading up to the big day. I was very hesitant to go up and down the stairs quickly. I was just terrified of stubbing my toe or just like slipping and hurting myself in any sort of way that could ruin marathon day. And as careful as I was, I also by the end hit the point where I'm like, there's only so much I could do right now. And I don't want to just enjoy race day. I want to enjoy this entire process from start to finish. And clearly, I've already admitted to you guys that there was a lot of worry and doubt along the way. But looking back, I think I did make the most of the whole thing. I learned so much just about my body as an athlete. I learned so much about my mental ability to just stay focused and keep pushing forward, even though all I want to do is sit down and not run anymore. But this is hands down one of the proudest accomplishments I've ever achieved over the course of my life. And I really couldn't have asked for a better experience and a better support system, thanks to a lot of my colleagues, my friends, and of course my family. All right, next question here is one from Luke, who's asking, what music have you been listening to while stuck inside? Before I even answer this, let's clear something up here. This was a question that Luke wanted answered, and then he thought about it, and he submitted another one. There is a reason I'm going with Luke's original question and not the new one. Luke, stay tuned. I will not disappoint you. But back to the music thing, to be completely honest, haven't been listening to all that much music. Most of the time I listen to music in LA, it is in the car, and I have not driven a car since I've come back to New York. So that takes that out of the equation. And also occasionally when I run, but when I've been running here, I've been primarily listening to audiobooks. I just finished Horror Store, which I thought was great, and I am just starting the new Stephen King novel, so that's That's mostly what I've been listening to, but I have listened to a little bit of music because, as you guys know, I am home in New York. I am back in my childhood home, and that means I am exposed to a lot of things that I haven't seen in a while. One of which is my CD collection, my soundtrack collection. So I have queued up the soundtracks to Scream, Empire Records, Can't Hardly Wait, a whole bunch of 90s titles you're gonna know in there. And I still love them to this day. We were talking a little bit about this in our Patreon Slack channel the other day too. And I'm glad I'm not the only one who is listening to those soundtracks constantly. Speaking of Slack, I should have muted that. Guys, I'll get back to you in Slack after I finish recording this video. Seriously though, if any of you guys don't know about this new tier of the Patreon campaign, it is hands down one of my favorites. It is the Slack tier where we have created, and in case you guys don't know what Slack is, it's basically just a tool people use to communicate. It's like a glorified chat room where we have a main chat, we have all different channels for different topics, and if you're on that tier, you get access to it, and it's a way to not only communicate more with me, but to also build community on the channel. I think some of you have probably heard me talk about this a little in the live streams, but it's hands down one of my favorite things. There are so many just smart, passionate individuals in there. So check out the Patreon page if you want to learn more about that. Highly recommend getting in there because I'm really loving the community we're building right now. All right. How about question number 3? This one comes from Billy, who wants to know, is there somewhere you wish to vacation after this mess is over? Absolutely, Billy. Here is my travel schedule. Top priority is getting back to LA. That's the first box I gotta tick. And I know it might be a little while until I go back, but it's gonna happen in the near future and I wanna do it nice and safely. Once that is done, the next thing on my list is getting the opportunity to go visit my family in Florida. A lot of my family is in New York, and I have been lucky enough to see a lot of them while I've been here, but we've been completely separate from some of my extended family, including my Nana in Florida. And man, I just don't like going this long without seeing them. We have been able to do some family Zooms, which is wonderful, but after getting back to LA, that right there is the next trip I'm gonna take. After that, I have to go to a film festival. I miss that community so much. I miss just being in a theater. And I know when film festivals start up again, maybe it's not going to be packed houses anymore, but I don't know, just to have that atmosphere back in my life, it would really mean a lot to me. And also, I always say this, but going back to Iceland is always on my travel list. Any excuse I can get to go to Iceland, I'm going to take it. All right, question number 4 now is one from Ian, who wants to know, what are some lesser known international horror films that you would recommend watching? As always, guys, I can't create a short list to a question like this, so I'm just gonna rattle off a few recent titles that were very buzzy titles, but I just wanna make sure you've seen these recent essentials. We've got Train to Busan, Revenge, Raw, The Platform, which is streaming on Netflix, Sea Fever, and then there's also Tigers Are Not Afraid, which you can now stream on Shudder. And also, if you see and love that movie, go check out the Witching Hour episode we just did with writer-director Issa Lopez, who is hands down one of the coolest. I love her so much. Continuing on here, I just brought up Iceland, so I gotta talk about my good buddy Erlinger, who not only is one of my absolute best friends, but he's also an extremely talented writer-director. And one of the movies he made wound up popping on a whole lot of best of the year horror lists, and it deserves to be there. It's called Rift. I know you can rent it on Amazon right now, but it is basically about 2 guys who are stuck in a cabin where creepy things start to happen and they explore their relationship while all that's going on. I'm trying so hard not to spoil this one, but please give that movie a chance if you haven't seen it yet. It is excellent. And to go back to a classic, and this movie's been on my list to rewatch for way too long because I can't get enough of how passionately Guillermo del Toro speaks of this film. It's The Devil's Backbone. I think that is sadly one of Guillermo's films that I don't watch frequently enough, so that's on my list to fix that problem. Now, this is an easy pivot to make. I'm going from Guillermo to Andre Overdahl, and the two of them just work together on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I did like quite a bit. One of the reasons, though, a big reason why I have been following Andre Overdahl's career like a hawk right now is because of how hard I fell for Troll Hunter. It is done documentary style about folks going out there and tracking down trolls, and it's just such this rich world with so many interesting details, and it's a riveting watch. I love that movie so much, and I could watch it over and over, and I do. That is one that I do watch fairly often. I also wanted to bring up the Rec franchise because I feel like, especially, you know, for folks in the States, it had its American remake, and maybe you're aware of Quarantine, but you need to be aware of where it all started, and that's Rec. I do think that the first and the second Rec movie, I think the second Rec movie is very underrated. Those two are excellent films. Didn't really like the third Genesis, and I kind of liked the fourth Apocalypse, but I want to keep the focus on Rec and Rec 2 here. That is a great double feature if you need something to watch back to back right now. And the last one I want to bring up here is a movie that I think flew too far under the radar. I don't think it was last year. It might have been the year before. It might have been 2019. Days, weeks, years, they're all bleeding together right now, but it's Gaspar Noé's Climax, and we actually did have Sofia Boutella on Witching Hour to talk about that movie, but oh my, what a fascinating production on so many levels. The performances in that are fantastic, in addition to the dance, because they're all dancers in the movie, and the dances are mesmerizing to say the least, but the camera work has a dance-like quality to it, and of course, we're talking about international horror films right now. That movie, it made me uncomfortable. Uncomfortable in a good way. There was one little beat that maybe I might not look at if I watch it again, just because it hits too close to home right now, but I think it is an exceptionally well done film, and it is flat out mesmerizing. So check out Climax if you wound up missing that one last year or whatever it came out. All right, guys, that's it for this Q&A video. I want to give another big shout out to my Q&A question submitters. Good old Evan, Luke, Billy, and Ian. I say this all the time, but it's worth repeating. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. And just another reminder, hang tight with that official question, Luke. I'm very excited to show you a little something soon. So, guys, thank you for watching this video. Like and share it. If you want to learn more about the Patreon campaign, you get a link right at the bottom of your screen right now. Dewey sends his love, and I'll see you soon.